Hello. I could eat about 1.5 million of these.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Welcome to the It's a Drama podcast.
Daddy, I love him.
My mother thanks you.
If you can't say something nice.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello and welcome to the It's a Drama podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And today we're going to be talking about trusting people online. Trusting people online, Brian, you know, just like buying stuff online, going and staying with people you've never met before, like when we went couch surfing, because I think it's super important now with everything that's going on. People are doing so much more online, and how do you know you can trust them?
That's the big thing, because how do you trust someone? You actually, you know, when we were traveling around the world and at a complete stranger's house.
First of all, should we just rewind? Because you're jumping ahead of yourself a bit there, big boy.
I always do.
You just...
Did you say, what did you say then?
I'm not having wine with a podcast next time. Can you believe I just called you big boy?
I know.
Oh my God.
What a start.
Don't snort like a pig. Right, okay, we've had a bit of a stressful day, me and Brian, and we've just downed a big glass of wine because it's, and then we're doing a podcast, so maybe that's not a good idea. Hang on.
Well, this is at 1 o'clock or not?
We're gonna wind this back, big boy, and we're gonna talk about. We're just gonna fill people in because we went travelling around the world with our kids 2 years ago, and we spent the majority of that time couch surfing. If you want to hear what that was like and how our son viewed that, then you need to go back to the previous episode that's called Couch Surfing Around the World and How It Affects Your Family. You'll find it in the archives there. But yeah, I mean, that's a really big, trustworthy thing. You're turning up at someone's house that you've never met before in your life and taking your kids there and staying with them, you know, and that's trustworthy, isn't it? I don't want this podcast to be about couch surfing, but I just want to talk about how do you trust? Because people say to me, well, how did you know that it was going to be safe? How did we know?
Yeah, because you can talk about the gut feelings and things like that, but that doesn't really work, does it? You know, that doesn't cut the mustard with a lot of people. So, like what we're going to talk about and go over on this is learning.
Like what we're going to talk about.
You like what we're going to talk about. The big boy is going to tell you.
Like what we're going to say next.
Yeah, but that's what we. I think we should just start again.
No, keep going.
No, I know.
Keep going. People know that we're alcoholics, and you know we're just.
Yeah, right.
But how would you define? Because that's an interesting one. When people say, "Oh, you just know," how would you define a gut feeling?
A gut feeling is when something. It's a bit like, all right. So a gut feeling. So say you're walking along a cliff or running along the cliff, and you're running to the edge. What is it that stops you from keeping going? So that's an instinct type gut feeling that makes you stop. How do you know that if you fall off that, you're going to hurt yourself? You don't, do you?
Well, because you're not an idiot. You know that if you keep running, you're going to die.
Well, how do you know that?
Well, because obviously,
have you ever done
off
it?
The cliff. Well, no, Brian, but you're
I
going to fall off the cliff.
So that's the
you?
gut feeling that you get from
it's
things.
just common sense.
No, it's not common sense. It's an instinct. It's a gut feeling. It's you know, even when you see little kids, when you got little kids and you can see them looking over the edge, they don't just go and jump off, do they?
Okay, then.
There is a fear.
Okay, so...
Not that we let our kids go near cliffs.
No, but okay, so you know that you're not going to jump off a cliff. But say, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. So say that you go online and you go onto the Couchsurfing website and you see a woman or a guy or let's say a couple, and they live in Paris and they've got this lovely apartment and they're offering to host a family for 3 or 4 nights, and they're saying, you know, we've got this lovely apartment in Paris and, you know, you can turn up and you can stay for 3 nights and you can even have meals and we'll show you around Paris. I'm saying this because this is actually what happened to us.
Yep.
But say you did that, and then say you walked in and you knocked on the door and went, hi, we're here, and you opened the door and they went, yeah, come in. You didn't really get a good look at them. And then you walked in and they closed the door and then they went, and then locked the door and went, right, you. we're gonna
Yeah.
we're
But
gonna we're gonna
That's like
kill
anything.
you.
That's like anything, isn't it?
Yeah, but how do you know? How do you know that they're not?
I know. All right. So let's look at a difference.
No, answer the Paris question.
I'm not. I'm giving you. Well, you don't know that because you've done your research, and that's what it's all about is research. So the scenario that I'm talking about is you've booked a hotel online, a small hotel. I'm not talking, a big like Hilton or.
Just like little bed and breakfast.
All those big hotels, which I can't think of one of them right now, Copthornes and all those.
Yeah.
So you've booked a boutique hotel. Mm-hmm. How do you know when you turn up that they're not going to do the same?
But is it because like they?
Well, say they've got 2 rooms, because some of them are tiny these days, aren't they? They are not far off glorified houses. The boutique hotels. What's the difference?
Maybe because they've got a website, and not that that's hard to do, but they've got a website.
You're handing over your money, aren't
Isn't
you?
there some like FDAP or something that I don't know? What isn't there a thing that you have to be part of the business that you have to?
Who checks it? When you go online, do you look at it and go, "Oh, look, they're part of the
FDFP.
Yeah, what is the FDFP anyway?
You don't want to know, bro.
Yeah. So, what did it used to be back in Cornwall in England? It was something like the Cornish Accommodation Association or something.
So you're saying that you should trust people online because anyone can be. Oh, hang on. No, it's not it. What are you trying to? What do you mean then?
Well, we're talking about you. If you don't suss something out, so say you're going to go on holiday, you kind of look at the hotel, don't you, and think, are there any reviews on the hotel? And we all use TripAdvisor nowadays, so you kind of look at those. And if you're not, you go online and you try and build up a thing, and you see if anyone's, you search it, you Google it, and think, what has anyone said anything bad about this hotel? And if you think, it's under construction, you don't know that at the time when you book it, do you? It used to be in the old days.
Do you remember that hotel that we booked through? It was someone like. I don't know if it was booking.com.
It was Agoda.
Was it Agoda?
It was Agoda.
And
yeah.
we booked it, didn't we? You were exactly right, because we booked it and we turned up in Sri Lanka, and I think we paid like the deposit or something.
We paid the whole thing.
We paid the whole thing.
Yep.
And we got in that tuk-tuk. I've talked about this before, and we drove. We were like, oh yeah, please take us to this, Lala Hotel, please. And then they drove up, and it was just like a building site with just a bucket in the middle of the building site. Do you remember? Yeah. And we're like, where's the hotel? And the guy goes, that is the hotel. Only he wasn't French. He just went like,
Sacre bleu.
Yeah, sacre bleu. This is the hotel.
This is not the hotel you're looking for.
Because he was a French Sri Lankan. So
yes.
Yeah, and there you go. We trusted them because the big name was behind it, Agoda. But going back to trusting... We
did get a full refund on that, by the way.
Yeah, we did.
So well done, Agoda.
Yeah, Agoda. Yeah, I would never say anything about Agoda because they did. They were absolutely fantastic. They were like, yep, we'll give you the money back straight away. They were brilliant. But going back to the couch surfing thing, people always say to me, well, how did you know? I'm the same as you. You're like,
yep.
Part of it is gut, but let's not be silly here. You go onto the Couchsurfing website and you think, okay, I'm going to go and stay with this. Let's use the guy in Italy, in Florence. We stayed with a guy in Florence.
Yep.
But
we knew that was going to be like a bit of a hand grenade, didn't we?
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, maybe we should come back to him in a minute. Let's not use the guy in Florence. I'll come back to him in a minute.
Let's just do Fumio in Japan.
Yeah, okay. So Fumio in Japan. Yep. We don't speak Japanese. We don't know any Japanese people. And we wanted to couch surf in Japan simply because we wanted to meet and stay with Japanese people. And we wanted to get to know... We were into couch surfing by then, weren't we? And we knew what benefits it brought.
In Golden Week as well.
Yeah, and in Golden Week in Japan. So...
That's a bit like Christmas holiday time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I did is I went online, I found Fumio, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's got 28, let's say, great reviews. You don't just leave it at that. You look at all his pictures, you do a bit of it on Facebook, you then go to the people who have reviewed him, and you see where else they've reviewed, and you can go like, it's like a little rabbit tunnel, isn't it? You can keep going. You can, because it's like, oh, he stayed with Alea, in Sweden. Okay, now I'm going to go to Alea's profile and I'm going to look at the people that she's had and what they said about her and if it was similar to what he said. And you can keep going back. And then the other thing that I would recommend as well is, and I always say this to people, is after you've done that, after you've been a complete and utter stalker, then you can start sending the person emails or messenger text or whatever, and just say, oh, hi, really looking forward to meeting you. What's your weather like there? And you can sort of get, and I'm not saying say what's your weather like, but you can sort of get a feeling, can't you, when they text you back or email you back, what they're like.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got a reply and it was just one word, you'd be thinking, oh, hang on. And
Yeah,
this
but
is a bit
you
dodgy.
look at it and talking about reviews and just elaborating on those reviews. When you have a look at some of them, I mean, a lot of them won't take families, but so say you're single and on your own, and then you look at the people who will only take single people, and then you look at the reviews, and then you'll see that there's a girl stayed at a guy's place, and for the life of me, I can't really understand why a single traveller would stay at a guy's place. But it's like he asked me to stay in the same bed. And it was just like, that's the type of, and it's like, well, no one's ever going to go and stay there again. But people did stay there after that. And so what are those people doing? Are they not checking out?
I went there.
Yeah, I did as well. He asked me to stay in the same bed as well.
Excuse
Come on,
me.
big boy.
Big boy's having the kids for the weekend. How about I come and stay with you?
You were there all year.
No, so I think going back to how do you trust people online when you go and like stay with them, or I think yes, a gut comes a lot of it, but you've just got to use your common sense but also do your research.
Yes.
Just do your research, haven't you?
That's what it's all about. It's like anything. You say you're going to buy a computer, a laptop. You're going to do some research. You're not just go, oh, that's the right one. You do it, and it's no different with trusting people online. Is research the company, research what they are, what's review. And I know you can get false reviews and things like that, but there's always a way to check them out.
Here's another thing for you. Because I've got a blog and I use the company called Fiverr. So Fiverr is a
freelance company,
freelance platform, isn't it? Where
Yep.
you can go on and you can basically, it started like they were a $5, obviously $5. You can hire people to do loads of things on there, like design your logo, build your website, make an ebook for you, turn up at a party and sing happy birthday. So I use this company loads, so I wrote on them. I've also got an affiliate with them, so if I recommend them and someone clicks, then I get a little percentage. And I don't mind doing that because I absolutely love Fiverr. I've used them loads, like I say. But I get so many people emailing me every week going, but how do you know you can trust the person? How do you know? Like, for instance, I used a guy from Bangladesh to build my website. And, well, for a start, you don't pay them until the end. So I never know why you're concerned about that. But
you do, but you've got to go for unlimited reviews.
Yeah.
Haven't you? So there's things like that. Yeah.
But they're saying, how do you know that, you can trust, like, I don't want to make this a big story, but so like if someone is building your website or doing amends to your website, you would have to give that freelancer access to your the back end of WordPress. So basically getting into the back end of your website. And this lady said, well, how do I know, before I go in, what's the matter?
I'm just checking my sound, but I can't see my sound going up too high. It's very delayed. See the difference? Carry on.
Yeah, and they're like, so how do you know, if you can trust them or not before you go and give them access to all your computer stuff and all your
the back end of your
details
website alone, which is huge because they can just go in and annihilate your website if they want to. Well, they can, can't they?
So how would you trust them then? How would you?
Again,
apart
it's
from
reviews. It's reviews. Again.
All I would say is reviews and chatting. That's what that would be my recommendation.
Whether it's an online chat like text chat, or whether it's a full blown telephone conversation.
And you know what? That's no different than if you're going to, like, say if you're going to Wellington, or if you're going to the city for a weekend, and you want to have a really special meal, and you you want to book a restaurant, and you've never been to this restaurant before, and you phone them up, and they're like, hello, French restaurant, and you say, oh yeah, we just wanted to book a table, and if they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, like they're really abrupt with you, you tend to think, oh no,
can't be bothered,
don't you?
Yeah.
Whereas if you ring that restaurant up and they're like, oh, have you ever eaten with us before? No. Okay, well, but someone said that you're a really good restaurant, and could we have the table by the window? And you can just tell, oh yeah, I'm sure we can arrange that, or why don't you get here by then? You can just tell by, what's the word? going backwards and forwards. What's that word? When you just like liaise with someone, just keep going back either through email or
not to become a pain, but just communication. That's all it is.
Don't worry about being a pain. Just keep emailing them, and you'll get a feeling of what they're like. So
exactly. Yeah. Well, hopefully my sound is okay, because maybe it just needs zooming in on the channel, but we can always turn it up afterwards. Fingers crossed.
So what was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, well, and the other thing as well, because, I've just lost my trail of thought. What was I just saying? It was about, because I said to Sunny, I said, well, how do you trust people? Because the other thing as well is young kids, like teenagers and young kids, as in, young adults rather than not young kids, young adults, they do loads of stuff online. I mean, Tessa will say to me, oh yeah, I've met this really nice person online and we're having this chat. And I'm like, no, it's just a weirdo from Russia or something. Yeah. Just an old man sat in his room pretending to be a girl. That's the automatic thing you think of, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the stalkers and people doing that sort of stuff. No,
they're really nice. How do you know, Tess? Oh, because we've been having this exchange going backwards and forwards. So you have got to have that, you just have to have that. I don't know if it's an instinct or I don't want to say, because you don't want to.
I know you keep saying gut feeling, but that does play an awful part. That's been a bit worldly wise. If you're not worldly wise and too wet behind the ears, as they say, then you're going to get sucked into a vortex, aren't you? But, you can't live your life in fear.
I know, yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's what this is about. Is like, and that's what we're trying to say here, is don't trust everybody wholeheartedly, but you've got to put a little bit of faith in humanity out there. And exactly like we said when we were traveling, we didn't have one bad experience. We had crazy experiences, but not one bad experience.
No, we didn't.
With
not
people
one.
That you couldn't trust.
No.
Nothing was ever stolen or anything like that. I mean, you've got to be careful with things like that. You're not just going to turn up, throw all your laptops and iPads and phones and all the stuff that you're traveling with and say, see you, we're off out for the day.
Isn't it funny though, Bri, how people, if you say to someone, oh, let's just say I'm going travelling to Asia for 3 months. So many people had said to us, oh, what if something happens? What if you end up, what if someone robs all your things? Or what if you get ill and you can't get treated in hospital? Or, what if, and then if you said you were couch surfing, it's like, oh, that's just, what if you get murdered? What if this? What if that? But no one ever says to you, what if it's so fantastic you never want to come back? No,
they never do. And that's the thing with when you're traveling as a traveler and not as a tourist. I know you're a tourist, but when you travel, you don't. You go back to when you were kids. When you went traveling, your mum bought you new clothes for going on holiday, and you weren't allowed to wear them until you went on holiday. So when you turned up on a holiday, you're like this bright, shiny tourist. It was fantastic that time that we were in Ireland, and we read a postcard from someone, and it said, "Oh, it's shocking. They're all out in their white trainers." Remember that in Paris or
Irish.
wherever it was? I know, but
in fact, they weren't even Irish. They were English snobs who were living in Ireland.
Yeah, but
we were house sitting for them. Then they were they royal? I think
Not
it was
Princess
Margaret's sister, wasn't it?
But it's those type of things, isn't it? So you stick out like a sore thumb. So when you're traveling, you're in some shitty old shorts and I shouldn't say that type of word.
But what I'm saying is, why don't people? It's funny how people always go to the negative, the scary, the what if, but no one ever says, like I say, what if it is so fantastic? What are you going to do if the kids don't want to come back? Yeah. What are you going to do if you get there? And you never, you want to live out there forever and we never see you again. No one ever says that.
No, everyone looks at the negative all the time. What's the worst case thing that could go wrong? Yeah.
It is sad.
Yeah, it's even like my brother. And, I love my brother to bits and everything. But he bought me a GPS emergency signalling thing. And, he's like, we don't know where you are. You don't know where you're going to do it. And it was just like, and he phoned me up, I don't know, 3 months into it and said, what a waste of money that was. I can see you every day on your iPhone. I know where you are.
Yeah.
Or whatever you're on. Snapchat, you can see where people are these days. So, yeah.
Veering off the subject a little bit, but I think what we want to say is you have this fear of, we all have, and the worst of it is the more you're at home and the more time you spend online, the deeper you're sucked into that the world out there is a big bad place. And it isn't. Yeah. It isn't. It wasn't that. That wasn't our experience after a year travelling.
Yeah. No,
it was a lovely place. It was kind. Every country we went to was the people, the other travellers that we met, that we stayed with, that we put our trust in, were lovely, lovely people.
Every one of them. It's a saying from my dad. What's my dad? 84, coming up 85 now. What he used to say to me, if you want to go and find trouble, then you'll find it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you go looking for trouble, then you'll find it. If you want to go out and have a fight, you'll find a fight, no problem. Someone will always stand up to you.
Yeah.
But if you see something that you don't feel quite right about this area, then move away from it, you know?
Yeah. Do you remember when we went to Vancouver with the kids and we went into that really druggy area?
Well, that's it. In Vancouver, the police, if you're on drugs, they'll go around, they'll basically collect you up and then drop you in this central place, and that's where you're allowed to be. If you're on drugs, that's where you go. And literally, we stumbled across this place, and it was a big courtyard with lots of wooden benches and things and seats and tables, and there must have been probably 300 people there. And you know,
did I imagine this, or was someone in?
No, I had Tess on my shoulder. She was about 4 years old, and we were in Vancouver, and we stumbled across this because literally back then there wasn't great GPS or anything like that. We were just trying to get from one side of Vancouver, walking to the other. And we stumbled across this place, and the guy, his girlfriend, was injecting into his vein in his neck. Yeah. And he was looking at me, and he had tattoos all over the place.
Oh,
and
nothing
I was just
wrong with tattoos?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he looked pretty hard, you know?
Yeah. Were you a bit scared?
No, because...
Yes, you were.
Well, no.
You were like, come on, we've got to get out of here.
Yeah, I know, but...
You were, Brian. Oh, stop trying to make out you were like a hard man.
Well, stop trying to make out that I was a trembling person with my family in front of me.
You were like, come on, we're going.
Yeah, well, I made you walk in front.
Do you know, Bri, no one likes a hard man. Just always remember that. Well, no, actually, I might be the... Anyway, I think you were a little scaredy cat.
I'm going to leave that wine in there next time.
I think we might have to cut all this out, do you? It's just terrible. It's awful. Anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, if we'd have been like, you know, we could have stayed around there, couldn't we? And we were like, oh yeah, this is cool. We're looking for trouble. We're just, you know, what? I don't know. But you just know. You're just like, nope, let's go. And you just leave. And like you say, if you go looking for trouble and dodgy areas, then. And I suppose you could argue, yeah, but what if you got to someone's house, like I said to you right at the beginning of the podcast, and you closed the door and it was like, oh no, these are psychos.
That's when you get your GPS out thing that your brother's bought you and press. Clang.
But I don't know how to answer that question because no one ever was.
Well, most phones nowadays have SOS on them. Okay, so... And that means, you press the
I think
off...
you're shouting.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to because I can't see my levels aren't going up very loud.
Okay.
So, like on an iPhone, if you press the off button 5 times, it will call the emergency, whatever number you've put in there.
Well, what if you haven't put in an emergency number and I haven't?
It's in there.
Oh.
It'll call the emergency services, but unless you've got...
Tell me that again. I didn't know that.
You press the home button, which is the off button at the top. Not the home button, the off button, which is normally on the side of a phone near the top.
Yeah.
You press that repeatedly 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
It will call the emergency services. And ping it. That's obviously if you're in Signal and you've got... so, you know, if you look at that situation, if you're in the country, make sure you've got a valid SIM card, all these things, if you're going to go staying with people. If not, go and stay in a hotel. You know?
Yeah, but this is just... Yeah, but this
so
is
you
just
do have
about
to have
trusting
backup.
people.
So,
Brian.
you know, you're turning up, there's 4 of you or there's 2 of you. I'd really seriously think about staying in Couchsurfing. If I was on my own, I would always maybe travel as a couple, but that's...
See, I told you, scaredy cat.
I'm not a scaredy cat.
Wouldn't you go on your own then?
I'm trying to say... I'm not trying to give people false information say it's okay to go couchsurfing and then something happens, you know?
I know, but...
Yeah, that's it.
Wouldn't you go, hey,
getting
mister?
worried.
No, you're getting a little bit cocky with me there. You just back down. You just back down, boy.
That's right.
So, would you go couch surfing on your own?
I would with that guy you went with. He was a nice guy.
Anyway, this isn't about couch surfing, and I'm sorry, we're just anyway.
Yeah.
This isn't about couch surfing, it's just about trusting people online. And I think what I want to end this podcast with now, because it's gone on enough, is just to say, just have a little bit of faith in people. That's what I want to say, because I have done loads of stuff on Fiverr online. I've couch surfed all over the world. I've taken people in my house couch surfing. I've been house sitting. I just want to say, and I don't, just have a little bit of faith that people out there are not all these big bad monsters. Do you know what I thought what really hit home with me was when we were in Vietnam, and you said, everyone is the same. Everyone just wants the same thing. They just want to be happy. I mean, sure, there's psychos out there.
Yeah, but it is. But it's when you're in that coffee shop or cafe, whatever you want to call it, and
in Vietnam,
and you just look around, and everybody is going through a similar sort of routine as what you do where you live. You know, they get up, they go to work, they go and get a cup of coffee. They want to laugh, they want to joke with everybody, smiley faces. There's a few people that are you can see they're under pressure that day, but everyone's similar. Yeah. And what you've got to look at with couchsurfing, it tends to be run by people who travel. Yeah. Or who want to travel and meet travelers, and they want to, broaden their horizons with meeting people, trying to speak English with you, trying to talk about things they're interested with. And that's the other thing that you look at. If you're looking at a couch surfer and they're saying, oh, I'm interested in history, I'm interested in jazz, I'm interested in food, I'm interested in this, you don't think they're going to switch the light off and close the door on you. You really don't. So, it's about trust and trusting people online and having that research, do it and enjoy it. Because if not, when we get out of all these funny times and you want to go traveling again, go and do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I get myself out that hole all right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
So you still haven't answered then?
What?
Are you too scared to walk through Vancouver on your own?
No, I never was.
All right. Okay. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I need to talk to you privately when we finish this about something.
Yes.
So if you're worried about online, just exactly what we were just talking about. I'm not going to keep going over it again, but I think just to sum things up, do your research. You can go so deep down, looking at other people's reviews. And yes, I know people can buy fake reviews and put them up there, but you can kind of tell, like I say, just spend an hour on the internet reading reviews and you'll see the ones that are fake.
Yeah, if they're all from the same town.
Yeah, and they're all like, oh, cool, this guy is awesome. It's like, no, people write better than that. They go a little bit deeper than that, real people. And also, if you were super concerned about something and you had a review by, Brian D left a review, you can message that guy and go down that route and say, hi, Brian, I see you left a review on Fumio's couchsurfing website. Could you tell me a bit more? Would you mind? And people never, if someone contacted me and said that, I wouldn't have a problem talking to them about it.
Would. That's right.
And if you don't hear from them, then maybe you're thinking, that person might not be legit.
It's all about being legit.
But the biggest take out here is just don't live in fear. Don't be thinking that everyone is out to get you.
Yeah.
Because I know there are mean people out there and stuff like that, but there's far more nicer people, I think.
There is.
Yeah.
And it's like, you tend to buy things online, and when you're buying, it's no different. You trust them. You do trust Amazon? Huge company.
Have you ever been ripped off? Have you ever bought something online and it's not turned up?
I bought some LED lights for my mag light from AliExpress. They cost me $2 and they never turned up.
Really?
Yeah, so that's my rip-off from AliExpress. They said they'd been delivered, but they never turned up.
Are you scared that you gave your credit? I know you never get scared, obviously, because you're a man of steel.
But you don't give it over to the individual, you give it over to the larger company. And
why didn't you go to AliExpress and say they've ripped me off for $2?
I did, but then they said, oh, that time's passed now. because it's gone past 6 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So did it never cross your mind, oh no, I've given my credit card details over and now someone has got my details?
But you give it to AliExpress, you don't give it to the actual individual.
How do you know you're giving it to AliExpress? How do you know it's... God, I'm going the other way now.
I know.
Sorry. Oh, you've got to trust people. But how do you know... Then no, just what this is just a little side. How do you know when you're given a company like AliExpress... This might be brave of me to say this. And you put your credit card details in. How do you know it's just not some little, geek on the other side who's just hacked AliExpress and he's put AliExpress's name up on his URL and it's like, oh yeah, I'm AliExpress, give me your details. How do you know that? The first thing you look at is whether it's got what they call an SSL certificate, which means that you have the little padlock in the URL bar at the top of the browser. So that means it's a secure site. So it's not, when it says not secure, then don't go on it. Right, even if you know that site, it might just be, it was a bit like Airbnb got hacked with a duplicate site at one time about 4 years ago. Similar thing. You thought you were on them and people, were handing over credit card details, etc., etc. So yeah, you just got to check out the site and make sure that you're not looking at an advert. Tend not to click the advert. Tend to go 3 or 4 down and see that it's the proper URL. When we're saying URL, just the web address, it's whether it's it's https:// AliExpress.com. That's what you'd be looking at. Yeah, so you would say make sure the little padlock is in the in the bar at the top. Yep. And also you're saying don't click the advert at the top. So when you type in AliExpress, not to click the advert, because if you see the advert, it could just be someone that's selling something from AliExpress, but you're actually going to their website. And when you get there, you think, oh, and I'd like to buy that, thinking you're on AliExpress. That's the way they do things, because they can just rank and pay for Google Ads and things. Not that I'm saying Google's corrupt or anything, far from it, but it's about checking it out. Yeah, just doing your research. Yep. Well, Brian, not only are you a man of steel who isn't too scared to walk through Vancouver, you know your stuff about the safety online. And thank you for sharing that with us. Yep. So anyway, payment gateways, that's another story. Okay, so if you've enjoyed this week's podcast, please rate and review us and leave a comment. And send us a message. So don't forget, you'll get a notification for the podcast. So either iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and I can't remember the other one now. Yeah, just that other one, that other really good one that we're on. That really good one, yeah. Cheers. Of course, Google Music, but I think that's stopped now. And we'll speak to you soon and hopefully see you next week. Hey, go steady. Bye. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the podcast. We have loved having you here. If you guys could subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. Oh yeah, that would be nice. That would be absolutely amazing. And make sure to share the podcast with your friends. And if you'd like to hop over to the blog, find one of the little boxes that ask you to drop your email. I will send you a newsletter every week letting you know when we've released our new podcast. That will go straight into your inbox. So it's www.itsadrama.com. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you next week for another podcast. Look forward to it. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.